Maryland 95, Mount St. Mary's 90 in overtime. Not what anyone expected coming in. Matt Maderno's with us. He was in the arena for this game, saw everything up close and personal. Do want to preface Baba is a Maryland Terrapin. That's great. We're going to have a video on the channel breaking that down. So it's not all bad for the Terps right now. This game, however, pretty ominous and scary, I would say. Diggy Coit saved the day, 41 points, 8 for 10 from 3. However, I am obliged to point out that Maryland needed 41 points and 8 threes from Diggy Coit to survive Mount St. Mary's in overtime. Matt, was it as bad as it seems?
They also needed 47 free throws and some home cooking from the officials to get this one done too. But I feel like we never get the benefit of a home whistle, so I'm happy to take that one. It was definitely a roller coaster of a night. Everybody was kind of up about Baba during the day and then nervous, right up until the announcement a half an hour into this game. There were two or three times it looked like Maryland was going to blow this one wide open, and they just kind of kept letting Mount St. Mary's sneak back in. It's actually funny. One of the starting guards for Mount St. Mary's fouls out of this game pretty early here, and we're like, oh, okay, that helps us. They can't be super deep. Mason So goes out, and then they bring in Orlandis Keys, who just decides to go supernova in the second half. He makes 7 of 11 threes, and almost all of that for all of his 22 points were in the second half there for the most part. So I was just like, how could this get any worse? This dude that wasn't even on the scouting report because he's barely played from injury this year is lighting us up. And yeah, the Diggy Coit saved our butts, so we'll take it.
Yeah, in a weird way, sometimes it's the ugliest basketball that I don't know, you can enjoy as an unbiased watcher. And listen, I'm a Big Ten guy. I'm certainly not a Maryland fan. I like when Maryland's good. I think it's good for the league, but I was tuned into this game knowing we're going to recap it and pleasantly surprised by the shot making in it on both
Yeah,
sides. Like this
yeah,
was,
for sure.
if you just remove the fact that this was supposed to be a comfortable win for Maryland, this was like a pretty fun game to watch for me with some drama and chaos and many things. So let's talk about the stretch in the second half because Maryland led by 8 at half. Like you said, I thought they had chances to sort of create further separation early and just didn't happen for whatever reason. Then you come out in the second half, and essentially, Maryland flipped the game by 14 points. They went from down 8 at half to up 6 with 7 minutes left in this game.
Mhm.
What exactly was the most concerning part of Maryland's performance in that early second half?
So Buzz's offense has been a lot of high ball screens, and they'll just run it over and over and over again until someone can slash to the hoop, or maybe they'll kick it out for a three if it's the right 3-point shooter, or it's just throw it down into the post. Without Payne, a lot of this falls apart because there's really nobody to run those ball screens with. They played Colin Metcalf a decent amount in this game. They played Alex Alston a little bit in this game. Neither of those guys are a threat for other defenses right now. So both guys just stay with the guard and are happy to let them roll to the basket. It was a little better late when they started going with Elijah Saunders as the small ball five because at least he's a threat to kind of pick and pop. But there were no rollers in this game, and I think that killed Maryland offensively. So it ended up being them doing the weave a lot with Diggy Coit just ending up with the ball late in the shot clock. And, kudos to him. He did his best Kobe Bryant impression in this game, but don't think you want that. And I don't think that's particularly sustainable. So it just the same question we keep coming back to is how does this team score points? And I've said it every game. I don't know how it's sustainable, but Darius Adams goes 17 for 21 from the free throw line in this game. Like that doesn't even make sense. I don't think I've ever seen a freshman have 21 free throw attempts in a game, and they needed every single one of those points to steal this one.
Yeah, with Coit, it's been interesting to say the least from my perspective. I thought he was pretty awful at Kansas last year. He became the butt of many of my Kansas jokes last season. But looking back on it, he really was not all that bad. He just kind of ended up playing more than expected on that team.
Mhm.
This year, he's shooting 53% from three through 5 games. And yes, an 8 for 10 game is going to help swing that. But even before this game, he was 4 for 7 against Marquette. He's hit at least two threes every single game. Like, I don't know. He's been electric. And I don't know if this is going to be sustained at this level all year, but there is a world where he's Maryland's leading scorer and at least good enough to make things interesting night to night.
He might have to be, honestly. And I think the most impressive part is he really is a very small shooting guard, and they're having to play him at the point without Miles Rice. no one is creating any of these looks for Diggy Coit. Like a lot of those ones late last night were late NBA step back threes, and
Yeah.
he just kept drilling them. I think he made like his final 11 shots or something insane. And they were just kind of lost offensively without him. He was also the only one who could break any of the pressure from Mount St. Mary. So basically they're inbounding to him. He's going the length of the floor. They're running 20 seconds off the clock, and he's shooting a 27-foot three. And that was the offense. And again, kudos to him. It was incredible. It was the most points anyone has scored in Maryland's arena, the Xfinity Center, third most all time for the program. Dickie Coit. So going down in the Maryland history books already. I don't know if anybody had that on their bingo card, when they were
No,
playing.
nobody did. And it's crazy. I do this a lot too, where I'm talking about my Michigan team early in the season. It's like Roddy Gale's been amazing. He's been our most consistent player. Oh, that's why we're in dogfights with Wake Forest. It's like, yeah, Diggy
You want
Coit set a
that.
Maryland record. Oh, that's why, at a certain point, you need the more talented players to actually live up to this. In Maryland's case, you need to get healthy. That's all this is. You're missing a bazillion guys that should be top six players in this rotation. And I think at minimum, Coit deserves a lot of credit for powering this team through however long this stretch is going to be. We talked about it in the preseason that a buzz offense, say what you want about it, it is conducive to explosive performances from shot making guards.
Mhm.
And we thought it would be a variety of different ones on this team, but it has been David Coit. He deserves a hat tip from me, and he's got that right now. Adams getting to the line, as you mentioned, 17 for 21. Thought it was kind of obviously Coit paced the offense, but that was the thing you could always fall back on was when you needed something to break up the dysfunction of this. Darius Adams could get you 2 free throws. He was 1 for 4 from the field. He continues to struggle from 3, 0 for 3 in this game. I guess what's your view of his offensive game right now? Is the free throw stuff I think is here to stay, but
Mhm.
is that all he's got?
Yeah, we used to play pickup with this guy growing up, like when we were in high school, this old like Dominican man that lived in our neighborhood, and he would always just yell jumper broke at everybody anytime they missed a shot. And my buddies and I have been texting jumper broke every time Darius Adams takes a jump shot at this point. Like that's really where we're at. Like I do not think he can shoot. And at this point, there's enough sample size to really back that up. But they guard him like he can shoot, and he gets a little like edge on somebody, puts his head down, and then just throws his arms up as soon as he gets close to the hoop. And they called it every time last night. Like Maryland fans will remember this with Melo Trimble as a freshman.
Yeah.
Same thing, just barrel to the hoop, and they kept sending him to the line. And he had arguably his best year as a Terp as a freshman, because after that he didn't really get the same call. So I think at some point for Adams, you've got to have a plan B, and I don't really know what that is right now. Like he's going to be longer and shiftier than I think a lot of the people that guard him, and I think that's a good place to start. But if you don't have like a base amount of shot making as a guard like him that's not a crazy athlete, I just at some point people are not going to let you just slash to the rim. I would just sag off of him incredibly, and I don't know why people haven't done that yet already. I think they still think that they're still guarding him like he can shoot, and I think that gives him an advantage for right now.
Yeah, he finished this game with 0 assists to 3 turnovers. Like I said, 1 for 4 from the floor, 0 for 3 from three. I think I forget who it was. I want to say it might have been a 3-man weave guy, but in the middle of this game, there was a tweet that was just like Maryland's a lot better when they remember they have Darius Adams. And I will say, from my perspective, that's not really what I saw in this game. I didn't see Maryland forgetting they have Darius Adams. I don't know. To me, this was a very one-trick pony, pretty ugly performance from him. Give him credit
Mhm.
for still making it a productive one, but
Sure.
this is one of the first red flag games for me. Which side are you on of that? Was this a good Darius Adams game?
I think I'm like right in the I think you're both right. Like they needed it because there was truly nothing else, but I don't know that that's a good thing for him long term. That's the one, trick pony that you could bank on there. So
Yeah.
it's a not a great option, but they truly didn't have that many other options, so you just kind of had to roll with it.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that right now are playing big minutes, and I think being stretched as far as they can be stretched. And
Yeah.
Adams is one of them. I probably shouldn't blame the player for that. Speaking of being stretched, Elijah Saunders, 44 of 45
Yeah.
minutes played in this game, finished with 14 points on 12 shot attempts, 5 rebounds, and assists, 2 turnovers, and a steal. I feel like Saunders is the type of guy that when you're fully healthy, settles into like a third or fourth best player
Mhm.
role, is the consummate glue guy, a winning player in all facets. On this team right now, he's kind of being asked to be the best player. And that doesn't mean Coit wasn't the best player tonight. Coit's going to lead the team in shot attempts. Adams is going to always do his thing offensively, sure. But Saunders is like the most central part of this to me right now. He's kind of the one guy you trust defensively across multiple positions. Like you said, they moved him to small ball five in this game, which I don't think was ever supposed to be the plan. And I thought he performed pretty admirably in a tough spot. What did you see from him?
Yeah, I think most important is probably the way to look at it, just given the lack of other post options at this point. Again, they want to run out of the post when they can. None of these other guys they can give a touch to. Even like third string power forward George Turkson is now somehow in a boot and also in crutches. So that's now the fifth player for Maryland to wear a boot on the sideline at some point this season, which I don't know. There must have been like a spree on boots at some point and they stocked up. But anybody who just like I don't know, sprains a finger or a toe or something ends up in a cast or a boot. It's pretty wild. But for Saunders, like I got really mad at him in overtime because they sent the world's slowest double team to him with two 6'4" guys. And rather than just either go up with it or kick it out to Maryland's only two good 3-point shooters who are right next to him, he threw it like over the scorer's table for some reason. Just totally panicked. And I was like, well, to be fair, he's played 43 minutes at this point. So like maybe I have to cut him a little bit of a like slack here. Like at a certain point, I think you nailed it earlier. It's guys that are being asked to do more than they ever should have been needed to do. And I thought like leaving UVA would really just sort of like unleash Elijah Saunders. Like he would go from like this really solid player for UVA to this really good player for Maryland. And I think it's been the opposite. Like the lack of structure around him, I think has actually hurt his game because he'll like box out two people somehow and then like watch as the ball ends up in somebody other, one of the opposing guard's hands for a layup right in front of him. And you're like, well, why didn't he do anything about that? It's like, well, he boxed his guy out, but he can't go get the board. So he's a limited player, but I still think an important one.
He reminds me, and I think Saunders is way better than this guy, more talented than this guy, but he reminds me situationally of a DMV guy that played for Michigan, Terrence Williams,
Yeah.
who for a couple of years was a role player. And then all of a sudden on the really bad Michigan team, he was like the leading minutes guy and leading shot attempts guy. And we were like, what are we doing? You can't
Mhm.
blame the player for what he's
Exactly.
being asked to do. I thought this was a pretty admirable performance despite a couple rocky moments. Let's talk end game stuff briefly. End of regulation. Say what you want about Buzz. I think that timeout saved this from being a loss.
Yeah, I agree.
It looked like Diggy was about to heave up something from the logo that
Yeah.
was inevitably going to miss.
Hmm.
He takes a very last second timeout with like, I want to say 12 seconds left, down three. They come out of the timeout, bang, hit the three, send it to overtime. In the moment, what were you thinking as that possession played out?
Oh shit, this game's over. Because Coit did not know the timeout was being called. This was not a I heard timeout, so I threw it up knowing that there were no consequences. He threw it up and then went, why is no one guarding me? So I think it was very clear that that ball was going up regardless. Again, he made a ton of like tough NBA range step back threes in this game. So I'm not really again mad at him because there was no other thing for them to go to. I'm mad at Buzz that like that's the offense for them. Like we don't have anything to run end of game beyond just let Diggy Coit cook. And that again, we've talked about it at nauseum here. Like that's not conducive to winning long term. But the timeout was huge. They ran exactly the same thing anyway. They still end up with a Diggy Coit NBA three. So
That was the funny part to me.
yeah,
Like, as much as I'm like, oh, the timeout saved the game, they came right out of the
yeah.
timeout and it was the same shot, just like 5 feet closer. So
Hmm.
I don't know what you do with this, man. To your point, like, it's just kind of objectively funny and probably not funny if you're a Maryland fan that 5 games into this, the offense is entirely let Diggy Coit rock. But hey, he rocked. He had 41 in this game and you survived. So I don't know what we do with that. In overtime, did you think there was any serious like concerted effort improvements that led to the win, or was it really just shot variation?
I think it was just emotional letdown for Mount St. Mary's, honestly. Like we mentioned, Arlandis Keys for them. He was incredible down the stretch. And then those threes stopped falling. Actually, Maryland did change things up defensively a little bit. There was a lot of like, we're willing to just keep people from driving, so we're going to help and leave 3-point shooters open for the first 41 minutes of this game. And then in overtime, they're like, maybe we should play straight up and just assume we're taller and longer than everyone on St. Mary's and not just give them looks at open threes. And magically that worked for them. So I'm glad that it only took 42 minutes for them to decide to change something up that was getting them beat. But the offense was just kind of the offense. It was Diggy, Coit, Cook. So I'm glad they made some adjustment, at least on the defensive end.
Yeah, that's a small win at minimum. I don't even know if there is an answer to this or not, but based on previous conversations with you, I feel like it's appropriate to end this by asking, was there an ominous Buzz Williams quote after the game that got your attention?
So I did not actually get to see the post game live after the fact for this one. I heard, quote, it was an all-time Buzz press conference. Like he was in his bag last night after the fact. He went for a very long time. We recorded the podcast like immediately after in one of the lounges over there. So I'm gonna go back and listen here this morning. But yeah, everyone walked out of there giggling. So I would imagine he was in rare form, I would say.
All right. Well, make sure you text me any takeaways from that because I'm on Buzz Williams quote watch this season for sure. Lastly, you don't need to do this because you got the win and you got Baba. But if I had teed this up to you Wednesday morning that you could get a commitment from Baba, but it would take a loss to Mount St. Mary's that night, would you have done that trade?
I didn't believe anybody that had said Pharrell Payne was gonna just be walking at any point this season, let alone probably playing this weekend. So I assumed the season was over pretty much because they can't win anything without Payne. So I would have taken that in a heartbeat and just focused on next year. And we were already talking about like, well, Pharrell Payne could medical redshirt. You get him and Baba, you get Adams and Mills back next year. Like this could be a team. So I would have wholeheartedly signed up for next year. In the moment, though, it's like you just can't lose this game because it kills any momentum you would have gotten from Baba. So, ultimately, I think the Baba one's more important long term, but that might honestly save them mentally
Yeah.
going into next weekend. Like you can't lose to Mount St. Mary's and then maybe go lose 3 games at Players Era. Like your year is just effectively over at that point.
No, I don't think it's any small thing that they actually found a way to win this game. I really don't. And we can make jokes about it however you want to. I certainly don't view Maryland as like a serious threat in the Big Ten right
No.
now. Maybe that'll change. But from the outside looking in, this is one of those nightmare nights. Everybody's hurt. You're coming off the pain thing. I don't think it would have been that crazy whatsoever to just lose this game. And it says something that guys extended themselves and found a way to gut it out. I don't know exactly what that says, but I'll be watching that first Players Era game for sure to see how this team responds. Hopefully, Pharrell Payne is back soon. And on the bright side, in the end, you didn't need to take my proposition. You got the win, you got Baba, and you might have Pharrell Payne back soon. Vibes could be worse in Maryland, I feel like.
I got one last thing for you. I forgot about this. Dickie Coit said, we weren't worried at all about last night's game because everything Buzz put us through in the offseason was so much tougher than this. And I actually kind of buy that because they said almost the same thing after Marquette too. I'm like, what post-apocalyptic shit is this guy doing to you that like Pharrell Payne almost dying on the court is somehow not the worst thing you saw all summer? So they were in very much the same mood after this game of like, nope, been there, done that. So I think there's something to it where like these dudes are ready for gut check time and winning ugly is still winning. So if you get everybody back, like I still think they could they're no threat to contend in the Big Ten, but could they make things like a little interesting with some of the better teams? I think they're ready to win some rock fights. So I wouldn't want to play them at full strength.
Yeah, 100%. No matter where they finish in the Big Ten standings this year, this is tough as an assignment for even a good team to play. Like playing a Buzz Williams team with that type of mental toughness, the healthier you are, the more dangerous you get, of course. But yeah, I totally agree. And yeah, I'm picturing like the movie Him, but it's just Buzz Williams like doing blood sacrifices
Yeah,
with
yeah, exactly.
with Diggy Coit. Okay. Congratulations, Maryland. You got Baba. Everybody smile. Let's get Pharrell Payne back and we'll see where this goes. Thank you, Matt, very much. We'll have more previews and recaps of Maryland basketball all season long.